Hey, check it out, new look. Got myself all pretty looking. Anyway, now that that's acknowledged, done with the films. The Woman in Black, Angel of Death. Or The Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death, or whatever. It's the next Woman in Black movie. And if this one is any indication, it'll probably be the last one. The first Woman in Black movie, generally speaking, I actually really liked. There wasn't anything in it that I think would merit it being a horror classic, but it was a really fun haunted house movie. One of the better haunted house movies I've seen. Daniel Radcliffe was really good in it. There were some genuine thrills, genuine scares, there was some genuine emotion to it. It was just all around good time. It was a fun roller coaster of a movie. You get on, you have a good time, you have some chills and thrills, then you get off and you go on with your life. Well, if the first Woman in Black is, let's say, Space Mountain, the second Woman in Black is the Dumbo ride. You go on and it's just like, well, this is happening. I'm going up and down and spinning around. It just feels so pedestrian. Rather than being genuinely scared, you just kind of walk into this haunted house and like, oh, there's something spooky. Oh, there's something spooky over there. I'm not going to say that there weren't points in this movie that scared me. There were points where, yeah, I did kind of jump in my seat. But they weren't like the fun jumps in the seat where you just get freaked out and then you're just like, oh, yeah, that was fun. Because I got scared there. Like a roller coaster. No, these were more just like, they were like those internet screamers. They just kind of pissed me off because when the scares do happen, they just feel so cheap. It's really a shame because there are things in this movie I did like. I liked that it wasn't just a retread of the first one. It takes place many years after the first one. I don't remember exactly what time period the first one was, but this is probably maybe like a good 50 years at least in the future. It's around World War II when the bombings are happening and they have to go to this house and there's all these kids in this house and the Woman in Black is going to come and fuck with them and just, ooh, spooky stuff. Sounds like a good premise and it's just... it's so dull. Performances are pretty good. I mean, the main girl, like, I was actually able to get behind her. I wasn't quite as attached to her as I was to Daniel Radcliffe's character, but she was fine. There's some interesting set pieces. There's an interesting look to the movie. It just feels like a very... it just is.
It's all right, it's gone. Edward. You're all right. You're all right. Take my hand.
Jupiter Ascending. You know, a credit I have to give to the Wachowskis is that even their failures are so spectacular, they're still kind of entertaining. I wanted this movie to be the next epic masterpiece, like, I wanted to beat the next Matrix. It's more like the next Speed Racer. Speed Racer wasn't a good movie, as just like a cotton candy thriller ride, it was kind of fun. And I think that's the same thing that Jupiter Ascending has. I'm not going to call it a good movie, but as a piece of camp, it's kind of fun. Having said that, yeah, this thing is just a complete clusterfuck mess. There are some good ideas in here. It's all very anime-inspired, it feels. Like, even just the character designs and the look and the royalty and stuff like that. There's remnants of some good ideas here. And I kind of like the worlds that they had built, but they're just put together in such a sloppy way. Explained poorly or just over-explained. A lot of it just doesn't really make much sense. It's something to do with Mila Kunis's reincarnated royalty and she's like inherits Earth or something, and then these people want to farm the life force of Earth. They've done this with other planets, and it makes them live longer. There's something there, but it's such a fucking mess. It's a disaster. It's a train wreck. It's such an amazing train wreck to watch. I couldn't stop. This movie has a bit of a cult following already developing, and I can see why, honestly. Of all the movies at the bottom of the barrel part of this list, this is the one I can really see myself returning to the most. Like, I can watch this as just a piece of trash fun. There are some occasional cool action sequences in here. There's some good ideas behind them, but they really lack any physics or weight or impact. Something that kind of worked in the world of The Matrix, but doesn't really work here, and you don't feel the power behind these things happening. Having said that, as a fireworks show, they're kind of amusing. And the performers in this, Mila Kunis, she's fine. She could have been played by really anybody, though. Same with Channing Tatum in this. Sean Bean, same thing. Eddie Redmayne, I don't know what the hell he's doing here.
I create life! And I destroy it.
Jupiter Ascending is a movie that, it's not a good movie. But in a weird way, I do almost recommend seeing it, just to see what a disaster it is.
You are royalty now. I'm a splice. You don't understand what that means, but I have more in common with a dog than I have with you.
I love dogs. I've always loved dogs.
Project Almanac. You know, Michael Bay has said before that he makes movies for teenage boys, so it's no surprise that he was a producer on this thing. This is the type of movie that I think as a teenager I would have liked it, and as an adult I watched it and I'm like, it's okay. There's some cool ideas here. These kids find a way to travel through time, and they use it in the way that teenagers probably would. They use it to get girls, they use it to do better on tests, and it was kind of amusing, honestly, seeing them use it in such trivial but realistic ways. They weren't going back in time to kill Hitler. They even acknowledged that. I think they can only go back in time up to a month or something like that. They really just use it just to have fun. But that's about all there is. There is a point in the movie where things start going wrong, and then it really does kind of get a little more interesting. But by that point, there's only 20 minutes left in the movie. Up until then, you're just it's kind of like Project X with time travel. If you remember that movie, Project X.
Project X.
There's a little guy in the oven!
So if that sounds interesting to you, go forth and have this. I think this movie was trying to be the next generation's Back to the Future, but it ended up being more like the next generation's Clock Stoppers. Does anyone remember Clock Stoppers? Am I the only one?
Clock Stoppers. Freeze the future.
Anyway, though, I liked Clock Stoppers, but it's not a movie I've ever felt the need to return to as an adult, and I think that's what Project Almanac will be for today's teens.
That's impossible.
Anytime you guys
It does
want to
not
speak
say
English
that.
so that I can
Temporal
follow.
relocation. What does that mean?
It means time travel. That's what that means.
What? Holy shit!
The Last Witch Hunter. Let's just get this right out of the way. The Last Witch Hunter is not a good movie. In fact, it's a pretty bad movie. But as far as bad movies go, it's pretty fun, actually. It's the type of movie you have a few friends over, you're not really paying that close of attention to it. You could have a good time with this, despite having some really solid actors, and you're like, Jesus, how did they get Michael Caine for this fucking thing?
I serve the Accent Cross in a very different manner. I'm the 36th Dolan, and I write Calder's history. I am his handler, his confessor, and I like to think his friend.
But anyway, despite that, the acting is middle of the road at best. The twists are pointless. There's a big twist at the end, and it's entirely unnecessary. The CGI is serviceable. The one-liners are just beyond idiotic. Some of them just don't even make sense.
Try doing that with an iPad.
But it's kind of fun. It has some cool ideas. Like, I like the idea of an immortal witch hunter and this fantasy stuff happening in modern day. It was kind of a cool idea. Vin Diesel doing that, this is really where you get to see Vin Diesel's nerdy side. I mean, the guy plays Dungeons and Dragons, and you get to see Vin Diesel's nerd come out in this. That's kind of fun. That's the thing, it's kind of fun. It reminded me a little bit of Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, a movie that is a huge guilty pleasure of mine. I love that movie, even though I know it's probably shit. But whereas Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters had just a really clear idea of how stupid it was, this one tries to take itself seriously, and that diminishes some of the fun. But it's still fun.
A dream walk shows your past. Only I can show the future. You will fail, and humanity will fall. I've taken this world back.
Not yet.
Anomalisa. This was a movie that I think I wanted to like more than I actually did end up liking, which is never a good way to go into a movie, but there you have it. I really like Charlie Kaufman's work. Eternal Sunshine is great. Being John Malkovich is probably one of my favorite movies. But I think he's the type of artist who does best when someone else takes on his work. His stuff with Spike Jonze is great. Adaptation and Being John Malkovich. Because Spike Jonze is able to take this weird stuff and kind of do something with it, find a point to it, or at least make it entertaining. Anomalisa, there's something there. There's something in this. But it's just, I couldn't find it. Like, at the end of it, I just was like, well, I guess that was a movie. I just left there like, well, what was the point? I mean, it's a film about loners, I guess, and being separated from society. And it illustrates that in a solid way. It portrays the awkward moments of people in a good way, but it just... I didn't feel like there was much to it. I think this is the type of movie that I might rewatch sometime and suddenly realize, oh, it's actually a work of genius. I just couldn't find the point before. Some of my favorite movies took me multiple viewings to really find something in them. And this is a movie I do plan on watching again, because there is something there, I just couldn't find it. But in this first viewing, it just didn't do much for me. So if you're someone who's really not willing to look that much deeper in the surface of a movie, you're probably not going to like this movie. If you're someone who's really into that artsy stuff, you might like this movie. Me, I guess I'm somewhere in between. There's something here, it just didn't do a lot for me, at least in this first viewing.
Sorry, I grabbed your hand.
It's okay.
It's a reflex. I'm usually sitting next to my wife. But I don't like to fly.
I said it's okay. You can let go now, though.